Passage, Passage 3, Cesar Chavez, using the philosophy of nonviolence. In the summer of 1962, labor leader Cesar Chavez began recruiting farm workers for a new union intended to improve their living and working conditions. While visiting farm labor camps, he went to workers' homes, often tents or mobile homes, rented out at high rates by landowners. Question 21 reads, the writer is considering deleting the phrase often tents or mobile homes rented out high rates by landowners for the preceding sentence. Adjusting the punctuation as needed. Should the phrase be kept or deleted? A. Kept because it helps describe one's family's experience of living in a farm labor camp. B. Kept because it helps shows why Cesar Chavez concerned about the workers' living conditions. C. Deleted because it suggests that the landowners were generous. D. Deleted because it shifts the essay's focus away from Chavez. Moving on. These migrant laborers picked grapes in the summer and cotton in the fall. Most of them speak Spanish. 22. F. No change. Keep it as speak Spanish. G. Were they to speak Spanish? H. Have spoken Spanish? Or J. Spoke Spanish? Moving on. Spanish and came from Mexico or Central America. 23. From Mexico or no change A. B. From Mexico or comma. C. From Mexico or D. From Mexico or Central America. Moving on to the next sentence. Chavez knew that their working conditions were hard because he and his family had worked as laborers. Because 24. F. No change. G. Were hard unless he and his family had worked as laborers. H. Were hard so he and his family had worked as laborers. Or J. Were hard if he and his family had worked as laborers. And his family had worked as laborers, and they lost their Arizona farm during the 1930s Depression. Turning the page over. Chavez read about Mahatma Gandhi and admired his leadership of the nonviolent struggle for the independence in India in the 1940s. Chavez was also aware of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was using nonviolence to seek equality for African Americans. Number 25. At this point, the writer is considering adding the following true statements. Other important people in history, including the abolitionist William Lloyd Garrison and philosopher Henry David Thoreau, also believed in nonviolence. Should the writer make this addition here? A. Yes, because it adds to the paragraph's list of people who have supported nonviolence. B. Yes, because it makes clear why Gandhi and King were supporters of nonviolence. C. No, because it clearly relates to Chavez and only weakens the link to the next paragraph. D. No, because it focuses too much on history and also too technical sounding for this essay. Moving on to the next paragraph. King had led a bus boycott in Montgomery, Alabama. 26. No change. King had led a bus boycott. G. King would have led a bus boycott in Montgomery, Alabama. H. King had led a bus boycott. J. King led a bus boycott in Montgomery, Alabama. In 1956, he had urged people not to ride the buses because it was unjust to make African Americans sit in the back of the buses or give up their seats to white people. A, no change. It should be left as for 27, give up their seats to white people. B, buses or seats were given up to white people. C, buses or seats they give up to white people. Or D, buses or giving up seating to white people. Partly because no African Americans rode the buses for a long time, the bus owners were forced to change their unfair practices. Turning the page over. It goes on. 1. Chavez wanted to use similar nonviolent tactics to increase pay and improve safety for farmer workers. 2. He asked people all over the United States not to buy these grapes because of the conditions for the farm workers who picked them were unjust. 3. In 1968, he started a boycott of California grapes. 4. In 1970, the grape boycott ended when many growers agreed to improve the working conditions. Number 28. To make this paragraph about the grape boycott that Chavez started most logically, sentence 3 should be placed. Where should it be placed? F, where it is now. G, before sentence 1. H, after sentence 1. Or J, after sentence 4. The last paragraph. A telegram King once sent to Chavez said, in part, our separate struggles are really one, a struggle for freedom, for dignity, and for humanity. 29. No change. A telegram King once sent to Chavez. B. To Chavez, King once sent a telegram. C. King once sent to Chavez a telegram, said. D. King once sent a telegram to Chavez, said. Moving on, the last sentence. Chavez, like King, helped show that people working together can have some effect. 30. Which choice best concludes the paragraph in the essay while reminding readers of the essay's main theme? F. No change, had some effect. G. Learned about people's living and working conditions. H. Discouraged people from riding buses or buying grapes. J. Bring about necessary changes without resorting to violence. Moving on, you can turn this section off. We will be moving on to passage number 4.